Finally, somebody said it. There's something about basketball that's always cracked me up. Why can't basketball just love what they have? The documentary, we love looking behind, and we're always trying to find the new shiny toy. Why can't we just appreciate LeBron? Why can't we just say, yeah, best player in the world last 15 years, put our arms around him and let's go watch LeBron play? Finally, LeBron's got in his career 3 MVPs. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. Media that covers the NBA, that's embarrassing. Oh, my bad, 4. He should have 11. I mean, literally, he left the Eastern Conference, and the Eastern Conference was man overboard. They're doing reseeding right now in the NBA. They're considering reseeding the playoffs to eliminate East versus West. They're not doing that because of Giannis. They're not doing that because of Westbrook. They're not doing that. They're doing that not because of Kawhi. They're doing it because of LeBron James. Finally, somebody yesterday came out because everybody thinks Giannis is going to win the MVP. Nice kid, great kid like him. It's not LeBron James. It's nice 6'11". He's 250, and Kawhi Leonard tossed him all over the floor last year in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Finally, Damian Lillard said, just consider everything. MVP is LeBron.
This season, I think, is LeBron. You know, they're number 1 team in the West. They've been consistent all year long. And for him to be at the age he's at with the amount of miles that he has on his body, how often he's talked about, you know, the pressure they put on him and every little thing that he does and the level he's performing at, I feel like, in my opinion, I think he's the MVP.
Of course he's the MVP. For the last 6 or 7 years, the NBA media has tried to convince me his run is over. First, it was KD. KD's not built like LeBron. KD gets hurt a lot. KD emotionally couldn't handle Draymond Green. KD's not LeBron. He's just a great player. He's a great scorer. He's probably a great kid. He's not LeBron James physically. He's not LeBron James mentally. I mean, LeBron's handled the Kobe death deftly. He's handled his ownership mess in Cleveland. He handled the pressure of being the NBA's villain. Occasionally, some people, I don't know why, don't like what he says. They don't like what he said about China. They don't like what he said about, moving to Miami. Those are just words. His actions have been impeccable. And he grew up with all sorts of chaos. He hasn't had a misstep, a physical misstep. Ooh, he said something about China. Really? We're holding that against him. Like he has to have some geopolitical acumen. Our politicians can't get it right. We have to babysit our president half the time. And then we don't like what he said about how he was taking his talents to Miami. That's funny. Cleveland burned his jersey and then begged, please come back. You didn't really care about his words. You're insecure. You're Cleveland. The minute you could have him back, you did. But you told me KD was going to be LeBron. Oh, then it's Kawhi. Kawhi doesn't play every third game. Kawhi's great, but he's not LeBron James. He's not verbal. He's not carrying the league. He's on the second best team in Los Angeles. And then there's Giannis. Giannis is him. Oh, okay. Giannis is 60 minutes to the piece. Giannis's playoff record is 17-17. That's in the East, 500. LeBron's never lost a first-round playoff series. Giannis has only won 2 playoff series. Does everybody understand? People do not get credit for the disasters they avoid. I've said this about presidents for years and years. A really good president, regardless, in my lifetime, avoids disasters. So you never get credit because you don't. It's like, don't start a fire and then call yourself a hero for saving people. The great presidents don't start the fires, so they don't have to pull people out of buildings. The reality is LeBron has made bad ownership in Cleveland, dysfunction in Los Angeles, unbelievable pressure in Miami. He's just made it all work. He just makes it work all the time, everywhere. And Giannis doesn't control every game he's in. LeBron does. I mean, if you watch a Laker game, your eyes go to LeBron. I mean, he's got the ball in his hands, the passing, the distributing, the shooting, low, threes, the clock. He's coaching. Giannis doesn't do that. KD doesn't do that. There's lots of games the Warriors were in that KD either didn't play, played occasionally, or didn't dominate. There were games that Clay took over and Steph took over. Kawhi, I think he's terrific. But he's left. The Raptors are still number one in the league in defense without Kawhi. They're still very good without Kawhi. Every team LeBron leaves disintegrates. He left the Eastern Conference. It disintegrated. Like, stop. Give LeBron credit for the stuff he avoids. If LeBron's in the room, if LeBron's on the team, it's going to be okay. He's like the really successful dad, and he's got all these children under him, and some are talented and some are dysfunctional. But the successful dad comes in and he just kind of cleans all the messes up. He just makes it work. He makes Miami work. LeBron and D. Wade, frankly, have similar games. They didn't even really work together. And then Bosh had to change his game for LeBron. I mean, Chris Bosh was averaging 25 and 10, goes to Miami, and they had kind of moved him outside and made him a shooter. LeBron made it work. 4 finals, 2 titles. And he and D. Wade, their game, D. Wade's not really, I mean, LeBron's best driving, passing, three-point shooters. That didn't really work. 4 finals, 2 titles. He made it work. Cleveland, he goes back. Kyrie doesn't get along with anybody. They roll through coaches. The GMs they rolled through. The owner wasn't perfect. Oh, they make it work. They win. Nobody wins in Cleveland. LeBron works in Cleveland. They go to Los Angeles for a franchise that was dysfunctional for years. I mean, it was a mess. They couldn't land free agents. They all have all these young kids. LeBron goes in there, and after about a year, boom, 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 Anthony Davis shows up. They're number 1 in the West. Just, you got to give people credit. Too often in society, we crown people heroes for saving messes they created. LeBron just makes everything, lubricates everything, makes it work. They got the second oldest roster with the Lakers. Nobody thinks they have the world's best management. I mean, think about since he's been there. You had Magic as a president, and then Magic left, and Magic held an impromptu press conference without telling people, and now an agent runs the franchise, and the unspeakably tragic death of Kobe Bryant. They've had multiple trades, and the Lonzo Ball situation, and Anthony Davis gets hurt, and Kyle Kuzma this year is not happy, and the Lakers are the number 1 seed and the best road record, and of course he's the MVP. It's not even close. And NBA media, just put your arms around him. Why don't you give him 3 straight MVPs to make up for the 11 you've missed on? He's been the most essential, most impressive, most important basketball player in this league for 10 plus years. He's got 4 MVPs? If you would have put somebody that just didn't have the emotional stability of LeBron into Cleveland initially, and then into Miami, and then into the Lakers, does everybody understand, as great as the Lakers brand was, before LeBron got there for about 5 years, it was a mess. It was a mess at ownership, executive level, roster, scouting. It was a mess. Now, most talked about team in the league. For the record, I don't think he'll win MVP. I don't. It's not the way the NBA media works. He's easily the MVP. But Giannis, 17-17, great kid, great player, 17-17 playoff record in the East, will win it. And it's nothing against Giannis. Just put your arms around the guy that's carried the league for a decade. Let's bring in, I'm not saying he's not loony. Some professors can be loony. He's Rob Parker joining us via the Cowherd Global Satellite Network. So how does that sit with you, the professor? Do you like that?
I'll take that. Yes. And my students at USC, they will love it as well. You know what, Colin? I love teaching. You know, I brought my class in. You met with them.
Yeah.
They loved it. They loved it. There's so many smart, young, energetic, bright minds out there. So I love teaching at USC.
Let's start with this. You have you are a diehard baseball fan. You're on my Herd podcast. Baseball, I think they got to get on this thing. You can't have your season all into football season. Do you have hope they're going to get this thing right soon, Rob?
I do have hope. I know sometimes, when there's negotiations, it doesn't look good, or it doesn't sound good. But Colin, Baseball cannot afford to go 18 months without a season. It just would be ridiculous. First of all, there's too much money on the table, television-wise, and it can only hurt the players as they go into next year looking for a new CBA if there's no baseball and the owners don't make any money. Here's the other thing. America needs baseball. America has always, Colin, healed from baseball. Don't forget 9/11. Do you remember George Bush throwing out that pitch in the World Series in 2001? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
In the third game, how awesome that was and how much that made people feel like life was back to normal. And even when we go to the ballpark and we stand for the national anthem, baseball started that trend back in World War II. So baseball's a part of our fabric. It will return us to normalcy. We hear it every day, whether we're watching the game, whether it's on in the car, whether it's on in the background, or you're sitting out on your deck. So baseball needs to be back for the recovery and the healing of this country.
So Damian Lillard, one of my favorite players, came out yesterday and said, come on, man, consider everything LeBron's done this year. He's the MVP, most valuable player, what he's had to deal with, an old roster, throwing it all together. Rob, I know you must agree with this.
No ways, no how. It's not a Lifetime Achievement Award. What is Damian Lillard talking about? It makes no sense. First of all, Anthony Davis has better numbers than LeBron except for assists, so that's number one. Number two, Giannis is having an unbelievable number. Go ask all the stat geeks and pencil protectors. They'll tell you it's one of the greatest seasons ever put together. His team has the best record. This is not about rewarding LeBron. And plus, he added Anthony Davis to his team. All right, he has two of the best 3 or 4 players in the league, so they should be doing well. They should be winning. Damian Lillard is off here. If he put out a rap album and this was on it, I wouldn't buy it. How's that?
By the way, there's been articles. I think this is the most. I said Jordan had the last dance. For LeBron, this is the last chance. This is an old roster, a bad free agency class. The cap's coming down. It's a lousy draft. This is LeBron's chance to win. I think the Clippers are built for 5 or 6 years. I think the Lakers are built for this year. Agree or disagree?
Totally agree. Colin, I wrote this in my column at Deadspin.com that LeBron it could wind up being the biggest loser when the season reboots because he has to win this year. Just what you talked about, where the Lakers are, you'll never know if they'll be this good again. AD becomes a free agent. Does he re-sign? He can be flaky. You don't know that. And here's the other part, and LeBron should be worried about, is all the other competition that also is going to return. Brooklyn will have Durant and Kyrie together. Don't forget, Golden State will be a player. Steph and Clay will be back, right? And they'll get a good draft pick because they have their terrible season. So when you start to look around, and you're right, the Clippers, to me, were a good team this year, and they didn't even get a chance to really gel. Those guys were in and out of the lineup with injuries. So now, them a year later, they'll be even better. So I think the competition only stiffens, and it's going to be tough. So LeBron has to win. If he doesn't win, he's the biggest loser, especially because he's so long in the tooth at this point.
A Boston radio host, WEEI, Lou Merlone, said, I don't like the new Brady. I don't like the way he sounds. He's trying too hard. He got thrown out of a park. He's not good on the match. And my argument is Boston is insular, paralyzed by tradition. They don't like anything that's not like them. And I think Tom Brady has opened up a whole new exciting world on jet skis with his kids down in Tampa. What do you make of this claim that the new Brady doesn't work?
The new Brady is a phony. Where was this Brady for 20 years in New England? You know this, Colin. He was aw shucks, gee whiz. He never gave you anything. Don't you remember when Peter Alexander from NBC News asked him, is Tom Brady a cheater? He shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't think so. That was the Tom Brady. I'll never forget that moment. Maloney is right. And now he's like a college kid back down in Tampa, eating at Hooters, enjoying life. He's great now. Let his hair down. Come on. I'm not buying this new Tom Brady.
At all. Do you think he's got a better record, New England, Tampa?
I'm going to go with New England. I know everybody's going to say I'm crazy and, oh, you hate Tom Brady. I'm not buying into the Tampa thing. I do not believe they're going to. Remember this. Mark this tape down. They will not, NOT, make the playoffs. Tom Brady is an old 43. We saw him last year with the Patriots. It wasn't a pretty sight, one of his worst seasons. And I think the season's not played on paper, just like a year ago when everybody and their uncle piled on the bandwagon for the Browns and they didn't even make the playoffs.
That's not a bad take. All right, the professor, Rob Parker. What's your shirt say? Pull it up there. Let me see it.
It's Fox Sports.
All right.
You know, I have all kinds of gear at GetRob.com, Colin. I got to get you one of these. You enjoy.
All right, GetRob.com.
It's a hoodie.
Very nice. Thank you, Professor.